Sterling Holmes with Fansided and Stacking the Box, joined now by Oregon guard Marcus Harper II. Marcus, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, we were joking before you really came on here. You've been a part of some pretty damn good Oregon teams. We're talking about all the players that you've blocked for. You've helped get these great recognition. Yet the offensive linemen you don't always get the love. So we're here to give
Exactly.
Marcus Harper II some love right here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, we were talking before. Just in my time at Oregon, like I've blocked for some pretty great players. I was like I said, Bo Nix had an unbelievable last season. As being a Heisman finalist. Obviously coming up short with that. But just blocking for him for 2 seasons was for me to come in my sophomore year and block for him for that entirety of year. And last 2 years he's gone basically untouched. I'm pretty sure over the past 2 years I've been starting, he's probably only gotten sacked maybe a handful of times. And then shoot, I've had every time I've played. Honestly, I think this is just me. Even from high school to now, I've had 1,000 yard back almost every season. In high school, it was for Sean Allen. Actually, I think he had 2,000 yards my senior year. Yeah, that offensive line my senior year was
In
something
high
something crazy.
school?
Yeah, yeah. High school, it was a 2,000 yard season. And I think he now holds the all-time record for Homer Flossmoor. And then in college, I come here and then I got Bucky 2,000 yard seasons. I kind of get numb to it, but then when you look back at like history and stuff like that, like that's not a normal thing to happen. So I'm just glad I get to block for special players and be on the field with those guys on the regular. So
Yeah, you're the guy that all this is happening around. So we're giving you the love here. I do
yeah,
want to
yeah,
point out, there was some NFL rumblings about you this year, but you decided to return your senior year to Oregon. You're actually one of 11 Oregon Ducks who were draft eligible who are now
right,
returning. What went into that decision?
yeah. Just the culture of Oregon is something different. From the time Coach Lane has gotten there, Oregon I would say has done a complete 180. And we were a very very good team just coming to Oregon naturally. Then you bring him in with his SEC experience and just the type of coaches that he brings in, fresh off of Natty, playing with Georgia Bulldogs he did the prior year, and just infusing all the knowledge that he's acquired over the years, and just pushing that into the Oregon with the resources that we have and the connections and stuff like that. And so the connection was a big piece for me, being able to come back for a fifth year. And I mean, we're a damn good team. Like, let's call it a spade a spade. Like we've come up short in big games again last year. But I mean the ability to reload and upgrade in almost every position that everybody else that left for the draft and upgraded it back and reloaded with some great players and through the transfer portal and through the recruiting staff. I mean, it was kind of like a no-brainer, like a why not type of deal. I'm happy to be in Eugene. I'm happy to be back again for my senior year. Let's go push for this natty run.
How hard was that? I don't want to bring up a sore subject here, but again,
No.
Oregon could have been Washington last year. It was two, three
Yeah.
point losses. And I know that's very hard, but I mean, you guys were right there both times. Was that a driving force of coming back? And what was that like for you? I mean, Oregon and Washington, it's
Yeah.
you two, at least in the Pac 12. We'll get into the Big Ten in just a moment
Yeah.
here. But as far as the Pac 12, it was you two, and you guys were the clear cut powerhouses. What was that like, both those games?
Yeah. So I would say, I'm not gonna lie to you. The first time we played them, that was at their place. That was the loudest environment I've ever played in. And I don't think people understand like the the struggle or the adversity that you go through being on the road in a high caliber environment like that. Um, we we train throughout the week going on the snap count, and then the first year you come out there and we can't hear anything. Um, and I would say ever since I've played Washington, I've never beat them. So in my head, I was like, I remember there was a series, I would say in the fourth quarter, um, the first time we played them, and I think it was almost, but we started on like the R 1 yard line or something like that. And we marched down to like the middle of the field, and in my head, I was like, okay, cool. Like I get to get like 99 yards back because the year prior in 2022, it was the same thing. Like we ran the same exact play and we marched down the field. So I was like, okay, cool. This is our time to get our redemption. Cool. And then the game doesn't fold our way. But the great part about that was everyone in the locker room knew, like, okay, we had them on the ropes. They just made one more big play. We didn't get the opportunity to. We'll see them again. So that's what the happiest part about that was. Like, okay, we had the confidence knowing like, okay, we do everything right. we'll be back and play them in the championship game in Vegas. Cool. We get back to the championship in Vegas, and we're just as confident as everyone else is. Like, and we go into that game, we're just like, look, we already know we're gonna hit these dudes in the mouth, get our redemption back, and we'll go see who will play in the playoffs. And it didn't happen like that. And honestly, we were bummed out about that one because that was a game that we had worked so hard to come back and get to that point, put ourselves in a position to set ourselves up to at least be in the potential national championship picture.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was 3 points away out of our grasp, it kind of left a sore feeling, a sad feeling in my body. And again, being a key contributor to both games, it's just like, are you ever going to be able to get over, this inevitable hump that, people talk about? So it sucks. And even though, you want to get that Washington team again, that Washington team you'll never be able to face again. And it just sucks that you like, what, just if we can get those scenarios back, what would the outcome be? But, everything happens for a reason. So, I mean, hats off to them because they were a hell of a good team. Could not even go try to, minute what they got going on, water down what they had going on over there. Their offense and their defense, their whole team in general was just phenomenal. So, yeah, hats off to them, though.
Well, at least they're going with you to the Big Ten, right? At least you get to still face them. I will say, too, as a Mizzou alum, I know the pain of the college football playoffs only being 4 last year, and now it expands. I'm sitting here, I'm like, finally, Mizzou, finally, thank you. And of course, no, just a year early. But I do want to talk about that change. Going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, that's a huge stylistic difference, obviously. At least maybe you have a better viewpoint, obviously, since you're playing in the games, but what we're watching here, the Big Ten plays a very physical style. A lot of times the Pac-12, a little more aired out, a little more offensive friendly. Obviously, you look at teams like Iowa in the Big Ten. You guys don't play Iowa this year. That'd been fun to watch, the Oregon offense versus the Iowa defense. But what do you think stylistically the differences will be for you personally on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think honestly, Oregon, we're just gonna keep playing our game, and I think that's kind of like the big factor that everyone's trying to figure out is like, we're making this change to the Big Ten. It's a different style of football, all things that in the nature, all things, taken into consideration. But I think that at Oregon, we play a very physical brand of football, right? That's not something that was, I personally feel like we didn't fit into the prototypical like Pac-12 narrative team. And especially since Coach Lane has gotten here, it's not like that at all, so, I think we just continue to play our game and then see what cards fall. I don't think we, obviously we have some new pieces added to our offense and our entire team as a whole. So I think that plays a part into it. But I think at the core and things of that nature, like just tough nose, hit you in the mouth type of style of football, that's what we play up here at Oregon. So I don't think that style of football for us changes just because we make the conference move.
Were you excited when you heard they were going to the Big Ten? Were you excited?
Absolutely.
You were, okay.
Absolutely.
I figured he had to because now you're playing all these the Ohio States and the Michigans and these massive programs. I had to imagine that had to be a pretty fun feeling.
Well, for me, I'm from Chicago, so Midwest football is all I grew up, watching when I, started watching football. So you watch the Ohio State versus Michigans, you see the Wisconsin versus Ohio State, you see all these big matchups. And you come out to the Pac-12, and it's a different vibe around here around just football. And to now go and seemingly back to a conference that I kind of grew up watching, it's kind of surreal. And I get to play closer to home, right? Coming again, Chicago to Oregon, that's a long ways away from home. But I got opponents like Purdue, Illinois, Wisconsin, which are from Chicago, maybe like the longest drive I would assume is maybe like 2.5, 3 hours. So. Very happy that my family at least gets to come to some games and, they don't have to make the long-winded trip. But, it's just exciting to be a part of games that inevitably you want to create on NCAA 14. And then now I get to be a part of those in real life, and we got a glimpse of it too when we played Ohio State. I want to say that was 3 years ago for me in 21, something like that, right? Yeah. But, how electric that game was. And now you get that every Saturday, at Autzen Stadium and all these different historic stadiums. Like, for me, it's a great way to send me off in my college career with, being in such an electric atmosphere and just a notoriety around the Big Ten. So, I mean, I'm just happy for the opportunity, to be honest with you.
I got to bring up the Oregon jerseys because
Yeah,
I think the majority of them are awesome. The
yeah.
majority are awesome. Have there ever been one where you're like, man, we got to rock these today. We got to we got to put these bad boys on.
um, I'm trying to think. Not, not the, not really. Um, our equipment manager, Kenny Farr, he does a great job of like, making sure we are put in the best things possible. So I'm never one to really complain about what I got to put on, because I always got to put my own little flavor to it. So even if the main combination isn't like one of our most favorites, you still got little details that you can add to it to make it, to jazz it up a little bit. So I'm never really complaining about a combo that we ever got to throw on. So yeah, I'm just happy that because you get here go out these other different schools and they're two combinations, the base layer color, and then they got white. So for me, I got a different color uniform every week. Who am I to complain? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I want to point this out for folks listening who might not know this. Oregon's offensive line was a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award, which honors the best offensive line in college football. Again, Washington just being that team. You got to get him this year, man. You got to stick it to Washington
Yeah.
on multiple accounts here. But how important was that for you? I mean, to get the nomination to be a semifinalist of the best offensive lines in college football has to be very rewarding.
um you you dream about all these different scenarios, and you dream about you see a lot of just notorious offensive lines get this award, like the Oklahoma Sooners. I forgot what year that line went, where Creed Humphrey and Bobby Evans was on that line, and but you know what I'm saying. So you see guys like those, coming out of high school, who win that prestigious award, and then to be a semifinalist for it, um, it was like a surreal moment. It was just like, wow, like, we're right there with like one of the most top lines in college football. And to come on short is just like, we're right there, and so that's added more motivation, obviously, in coming back, falling short of that goal too, knowing that we can finish off, be one of the top offensive lines in the nation this year. It's something I would love to cap off my senior season with.
Where would you say your personal strengths lie in some areas that maybe you're trying to improve for the draft next season?
Yeah. My athleticism, realizing that one of the more athletic offensive linemen out there on the field. And it's so crazy that I'm around athletic offensive linemen here at Oregon all the time.
Yeah.
And so to really get a wider perspective and see that that's not normal for most linemen to be, athletic and move how we do. It very much goes into my benefit to help separating factor for me. Um, and I'm not one to shy away from it. That's just one of those things where I just know that's a strength of mine. Being an athletic guy, being able to be 316, 315 and move the way that I do is something that I take pride in, So I would say, again, my strength for me, my athleticism for sure. And my
Do you have
intelligence too. I'm not no offensive lineman by no means. I got to throw that in there. No offensive lineman by no means is dumb. But I very take a strong, very hold dear to my heart my football IQ, my ability to just recognize defenses and different situations, and then act accordingly.
I do talk to a lot of different offensive linemen, just different positions in general. I think offensive linemen they're up there in the IQ. They're up there in the
Absolutely.
intelligence. Wide receivers sometimes, you know, got a little
Yeah.
diva in them. They got a little
Yeah,
diva in the
absolutely.
wide
But I
receivers.
mean, there's a superstar factor that everyone has inside of them, and I think just because of the nature of their position, it gets magnetized to the 10th degree. So I'm pretty sure they put a camera in front of my face 24/7. I'd be the same way. That's just me, but you know.
I, before I let you go, I'd love to hear this from your perspective here. Can you walk us through what it's like in the huddle, play-by-play basis for a guard, especially a guard at Oregon? Obviously, I think a lot of people kind of go into your IQ here. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's either a pass play or a run play, but there's a lot of nuances that go in
Yeah.
to play an offensive line. I would love to hear what goes through your mind from the huddle to the actual play.
Right. Yeah. So the great part about it is the quarterback relays everything that we need to do from a play perspective. So I get the call, boom, break the huddle. I always try to say some nugget before we even get the play call, like, hey, let's continue to be great. let's go. Just make sure the guys are like locked in, zeroed in on, they're in the right mindset before we even get to play. Boom, break the huddle, see what defense is out there and how those our calls adjust to whatever the defense is providing. Right, we get down and I'm kind of just in flow. Like I'm not really thinking too much. I'm really just letting my training take over and trusting my technique and my playmaking ability to go execute out there on the field. And then from that standpoint, I go create a hole, and then for the most part, it's a touchdown. Or if anything, it's a first down. But that's a very much watered down thing of what I got to go through. Obviously, there's checks. If it's a pass play, you see a rotation or you see an overload to one side, you want to make sure that you're sending the protection. You're covering up the quarterback to the best of his ability, making sure you're double checking with whoever's behind us so that they're working with us, not against us, making sure that they understand where they're hot from. I would say that would be the biggest thing to open up my IQ as a whole, just being behind Bo. Having such a smart quarterback, and then you couple that with smart offensive linemen, making sure that we're all on one page, that we're not sending protections away for where he's hot at, or vice versa, making sure that we're just protecting him. And even if we have the running back in protection, making sure we can get an extra offensive lineman on a D lineman, so that way we can get our running back out in the flat to make sure, to get a first down or a touchdown. So, yeah, kind of just depends on what the play is. But everything like that is a nutshell. And you got to think all this happens within like 30 seconds, 25 seconds, however long the play clock is. But, I mean, repetition is just the best form of just confidence. And so I've done it 20+ thousand times. So when you get out there on the field on Saturdays, it's kind of, it's another practice play. So, but yeah, that's kind of my whole little mindset before I go out there on the field.
All right, actual final question here.
Yeah.
A lot of the older generation of offensive linemen, their team run block, run block, run block. They're like, no, sorry, because for an offensive lineman, you're 300+ pounds. It's easier to go forward than go back. But you're part of the new younger generation. Has that changed at all, or is it still no? We would prefer to run block over pass block.
I like a mixture of both, honestly. There's a certain feel I would assume all offensive linemen have when you kind of move a man from point A to point B. That's the most. If you had a quote that all offensive linemen predicate themselves off of, it's just the ability to move a man from point A to point B. You feel me? So there's a exhilarating factor that, again, we're not getting all the notoriety. So we got to find fun within whatever we have in our little box, our little framework. So me running off the ball and, run blocking and, moving a guy against his will is similar for me as a receiver getting a touchdown. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, but, I also do take pride in keeping my quarterback clean. There's a sense of pride where it's like, your quarterback, you look up at the end of the fourth quarter and, we're winning and you see our quarterback is untouched. Or, and when we're just dirty or not even dirty, like we're just, we just know we had a great game and we just played some great opponents and they didn't touch our quarterback. I take pride in that too. So I would say I would put me right down the middle. Like I'm not so pro off pass blocking, but I do love some run blocking too. So I would just say I'm a great mixture of both.
Got to get the mix in. I will say, if you come to Kansas City, by the way, and you become a guard for Kansas City, you'll get the notoriety. Yeah. Don't worry about that. Trey Smith's out here rocking. They have T-shirts made for him out here in Chiefs Kingdom. Yeah, we love our O-line out here.
Trey Smith is, I don't know, I'm pretty sure no one knows this. Trey Smith is the reason I play, one of the main reasons why I play football the way I do. So when I was in high school, I got moved up to varsity my sophomore year, and I didn't want to stay in 70. 70 was my first ever football number. And so I go up to varsity, and I think Trey Smith was class. I don't know what class he graduated. It might have been, I was a sophomore in 2017. He might have been 2017 was a high school graduating class, somewhere in that time frame. And 5-star, I committed to Tennessee, all this, that, and the fourth. And the reason why I wore 73 back in high school were for two guys, Larry Allen and Trey Smith. So I had a great opportunity to go to a masterminds conference last year in Dallas, and I saw Trey, and very quickly just passing by, I was just like, "Hey, you have no idea who I am, but you're the reason why I play football the way I do." And I just wanted to give him that because, again, that's one of the small little nuances of the offensive lineman that we take pride in. Whenever a younger player, I would assume, comes up to an older guy and is like, yo, you're the reason why I do X, Y, Z, it's the most like warming feeling in the world. And so he is one of those reasons why I played the way I play. So shouts out to Trey Smith, man.
Dude, that's incredible. That's awesome. What a fun
Yeah.
story. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know who influenced different players. You have zero idea. And Trey
Yeah.
Smith, awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Oregon guard Marcus Harper II. Hey, good luck next year. As
Thank
long
you.
as you're not playing Mizzou in the college football playoffs, I'll be rooting for Oregon and you guys. So you have that
Appreciate
going for you. But Marcus, appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you too.